As an actor, I can't wait to play characters on the big screen. But I have a thin body and a small face. Not enough masculine grace. You're not manly enough, they say. But today my feelings will see the light of day. No, we're not foes, but still, here it goes. I have some questions, some apprehensions, such as, why should he see a shrink if he likes the color pink? And why should she too if she likes the color blue? Who decided these molds? Who made these gender roles? What gives them their hold? No, there's nothing bold about calling someone tiny, about calling someone fat. Your ego isn't shiny, and your morality is a dead rat. Your body shaming, which is just blaming your own inadequacies on another person's build. No, there's nothing skilled. You're just wrong. Yes, there's no rhyme there, but I don't really care. I know I'm a poet and I don't need to show it. But here's something you need to know. The size of your brain, it needs to grow. Using poetry to tell my story feels extremely cathartic. Catharsis is when an open expression of emotions provides mental relief. And maybe the reason why we find art so cathartic is because it allows an open expression of emotions. And today I'm going to talk about how hypnosis, acting, and poetry provide an entry into the subconscious mind. Clinical hypnosis is a technique that allows us to access the subconscious mind. Before I became an actor, I studied psychology. And I specialized as a clinical hypnotherapist and past life regression therapist. And I started treating patients using clinical hypnosis. Now in clinical hypnosis, there are multiple things that can be done. And it's basically a technique that is used to access that hidden part of your mind that is usually beyond our awareness, called the subconscious mind. There are multiple techniques of inducing a hypnotic trance. And there are multiple things that can be done once a trance is induced. Memories can be accessed from a present or past life. You can heal an inner child, which is a younger version of yourself that may have experienced a trauma. But how is the subconscious mind related to art and cinema? Content can be called successful based on the number of hearts it touches. In industry language, content that resonates with the majority is called massy content. Cinema and art simply represent the collective fantasies of the masses. In literature, we call these collective mental elements psychic archetypes, or the universal themes present across humankind, which when effectively embodied in literature, evoke a profound response from the audience because we share the same psychic archetypes expressed by the author. Renowned psychoanalyst Carl Jung called these collective mental elements the psychic residue of repeated patterns of experience that survive in the collective unconscious of the human race and are expressed in dreams, literature, fantasies, and cinema. And when I look at my own work, I think this makes sense. My poems are based on my life experiences with issues such as gender roles, body shaming, and human rights. And when I started sharing my story through poetry, it seemed to resonate with the masses. Thousands of people began liking and sharing my poems. I remember a female soon-to-be married messaged me about how her fiancé wasn't masculine enough, but how my poem on gender roles made her realize that not his masculinity, but his heart is what is going to stay with them. My story resonated with her story. The content of my subconscious mind resonated with the content of her subconscious mind. And it is these shared mental feelings that strike a chord between audience and artist. But in order to create content that resonates with my audience's suffering or celebration, I must first explore my own suffering or celebration. And my acting course was basically a deep dive into self-exploration. Every day I had to unlayer and confront aspects of myself that I didn't even know existed. and then I had to channelize my emotions into scenes, characters, and scripts. Initially, I kept getting feedback that the audience couldn't see the real me in a scene. That I was playing my version of a character rather than the character. My acting coach told me to just be myself in the scene. He told me to just bring myself and my version of the character into the scene rather than a superimposed version of the character into the scene. And one day I was tired of trying to get it right, so I just brought myself into the scene and tried being myself. That was the day that my scene got applause because it looked believable, organic, and natural. Acting was no longer about pretending to be a character. It was about becoming the character. I started channelizing these new versions of myself into male and female characters that I created for my content on Instagram. That's Tanya, an exotic French diva who doesn't understand Indian culture but lives in Mumbai. That's Tanya promoting a Bollywood film, interviewing actors Rajkumar Rao and others as part of a movie promotion. Another main character I created is Chacha Chaturvedi, an old school man who grew up on a farm in a village. He doesn't understand millennials or social media culture, but he only speaks in Hindi. Another female character I created is Tia Kapoor. She is an interesting character with an interesting backstory. The reason I love creating and acting characters is because when I get to act, I get to create the inner world of a new individual and operate from a new mental space, which is a refreshing feeling. And now my characters have developed an audience of admirers, not to mention some awkward requests such as wanting to tattoo Tanya's autograph on their body. Can you imagine that the same person who had been bullied for not being masculine enough was now being celebrated for his female characters? This tells us something interesting about stereotypes and biases. They limit us from accessing sides of our own self that we suppress and hide because we don't really find acceptance in society. And then we create characters and films to live the lives that we didn't allow ourselves to live. But it's the year 2020. It's the beginning of a new decade. And I believe it's time to start telling real stories that are a departure from stereotypical content. Because the more reality finds representation online and in cinema, the more everyone's collective anxiety will be reduced. Because we no longer need to pursue the unrealistic ideals of beauty and romance that we see in cinema. We're all different. And the more we accept people for being original and don't condemn them for being different, the more freshness we will start seeing in society. We need to learn to celebrate art for what it is, without forcing people into boxes. Or as the French say, art pour art, or art for the sake of art. Because you're not weird, you're original. My study of myself began when I started attending the discourses of spiritual leader Puja Gurudev Sri Rakesh Bhai. And it is his discourses that help me better understand and nourish myself. I believe that if you can convert your scars into your stars, then you're an artist. For example, growing up, I had acne. This gave me scars across my face. Many call them a disgrace. Someone once told me, every morning, Dhruv, splash your face with piss. This is the secret to clear skin bliss. A stranger once pointed to my acne-covered face and said, do you have chickenpox? What are these spots on your head? Defeated, I said, no, sorry, this is my skin and sorry it doesn't glow. But about natural processes and hormones, who is expected to know? Either I'm too fat or too thin, or I have a double chin, or I need to go to the gym to build my matchstick-like body. Society, I am sorry that I am scrawny, but it is your brain that needs a workout, not my body, and for her double chin, do not make her feel sorry. For every fold that someone holds carries a story to be told. Let's be done with these molds and these narrow-minded holes, because darling, we are gold. This is our story, and it will be told. Because darling, we are gold. This is our story, and it will be told.